asks me, how much money do I actually need to buy a home in Las Cruces? And the answer is, it's probably not what you think. I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, families relocating to Las Cruces, and this is one of the biggest misconceptions that I really do hear. Let's talk about down payment myths. Okay, so you do not need 20% down in most cases. If you have the money and you want to put it forward, absolutely go right ahead. But honestly, you can get into a home with as little as 3%. The most common option that I see are FHA, which is 3.5% of purchase price. Okay, FHA loans are going to give you a little bit more flexibility on credit. So you actually don't need amazing credit to get into a home either. I've seen people with as low as a 80 get into a home, but honestly, you want to be above a 600, maybe even a 20 for an FHA to get a competitive interest rate. You have conventional loans you can get in with as little as 3%. With conventional loans, your credit score does make a difference. You do want to have at least a 650, 680 because the interest rate will matter. You can get in with 0% down. Yes, there's still some other costs associated with VA, but you don't have to worry about a down payment. You're 100% back. And you can get in with a 600 credit score. Like, VAs are very, very flexible. And then there is a lot of programs for first-time home buyers or even for people that need down payment assistance. I've seen people get in with as little as $500. Is the payment a little bit higher? Yes. We can always take a look at numbers and make them work as best as we can for you. Bigger down payment isn't always better. Those are things that we go from one person to the other. I have people that tell me, well, I'll put in $3,000 more. I'm like, it doesn't make a difference. Let me compare the numbers and see if you really want to go through your savings and putting everything you have into a down payment, or keep your savings because it's really not going to make a difference. These are the things that can make a difference in a payment. Monthly payment and long-term comfort always matter more. I have seen buyers with solid income assume they were not ready when actually they were. I have people that think they need a 2-year preparation, and then all of a sudden they're in a house in 3 months after we've talked. So there's a will, there's a way, guys. All right, let's talk about closing costs, because a lot of people don't understand what closing costs, and it is not your down payment. You have your down payment. This is what you bring in as portion comes off the price of the house, what you're borrowing. Then you have your closing costs. Your closing costs are typically 2 to 3%. It covers lender fees, appraisal, escrow fees. A lot of those things that you have to pay up front for a mortgage are part of your closing costs, okay? A seller can actually contribute to your closing costs, but they cannot contribute to your down payment. So if you don't want to bring an extra, let's say $5,000 to $8,000, that's kind of the norm here for closing costs on top of your down payment, you can always ask the seller to pay such amount in closing costs, and it helps offset a little bit of what you have to bring into closing. This is where those builder incentives come in. I have another video where I talked about what resale and new builds, what the difference are, and we talked a little bit about builder incentives. For example, right now I have a builder that is offering $10,000 to pay down buyer rate, 3% in closing costs and commissions. So if you take all of that into accountability, and it's like, okay, this makes sense because 1, I can buy down my rate. 2, they're paying all this. I don't even have to ask for it. Not having to play around with purchase price already. It's already given. It's already assumed it's going to be as part of the package of buying this house. This is where strategy matters. Right now, with where prices are at and how much inventory that is, it's a little bit easier to get closing costs covered. Let's talk about the surprises once you go under contract and what people do not expect. Home inspections. For example, termite inspections have to be done if you're doing an FHA, not exactly a convention. Home inspections are not a requirement. A lot of buyers think that home inspections are a requirement by the lender, and they're not. Home inspections are totally up to the buyer. but they are 100% recommended by me. I always say have a home inspection, regardless if you're buying a brand new house or a resale house. Everything is man-made and mistakes are made, so you want to make sure that you know what you're buying. You can always ask for the seller or the builder to make repairs once you have these home inspections. Appraisals sometimes may be covered by the lender if they're having a certain program. Sometimes they roll it into the closing costs. Sometimes it has to be paid up front as soon as the appraisal gets ordered. Home inspections in New Mexico run you about $300 to $500. Appraisal right now is anywhere like $600 to $900. These are upfront costs to take into consideration once you go under contract on a home. Moving costs. Oh my God, it is not cheap to move. And then of course, setting up utilities. If you're buying a brand new build, you're going to have impact fees. If you are buying a resale home, you always have to pay off where you're at, and now you're moving. So those moving and utility costs, I mean, even though they're not crazy as expensive, once you're putting in a down payment and you're paying for all these other things, they do tend to add up. So it's just a little bit to like keep in consideration, okay? These aren't hidden costs. It's just a little bit more explanation on what needs to get done. As far as utilities though, I will tell you, always try, like if you're buying a resale home or even actually a new build, make sure you have a little bit of a cushion. If utilities get disconnected, you're going to have to pay a reconnection fee. If utilities are on and you just say, okay, I just moved into this house, can you please connect them ASAP? They just switch over. There might be a tiny fee, but it's not as much as connecting services that have been completely disconnected. Make sure that as soon as you sign, set up your utility so that you're not having to pay more. This is what I see most often in Las Cruces. Buyers think they need way more cash than they do. We try to limit the cash that buyers have to come into the table because you're having to get used to a brand new payment. And it's important to understand your cash to close on a home. It's either overestimated or way underestimated, and that can affect your monthly payment. It's about having clarity, whether it's 500 or 10,000 that you're bringing into the table. It's just having clarity and not waiting. Don't wait 5 years just because of this. If you do not have a down payment, don't wait. There's programs to help you with that. If you have a down payment, don't assume it's 20%. You can get in with $10,000 into a house. A lot of people, that's what they have in the bank. You can get into a home with that. We can stretch that budget and make it work. It's all about just looking at your options. There's no universal number. What you need depends on the loan type, the price range, what type of help we negotiate, and how you want that monthly payment to feel. Every situation is different for every single buyer. That's where I'm here to help. Just navigate the different loan types, navigate the different cash to close, what you have. Let's make that work. If you're curious to know about what your numbers look like without the pressure, I'm happy to talk it through with you. I have linked all my information below. There's a relocation guide as well. There's a credit checklist information. Like if you're trying to work on credit and you kind of want some tips and advice, there's one thing linked there as well. My phone number is linked. If you want any information, you want to set up an appointment, whatever you need, I am a text away. I promise you, I'm always available. I really do like to walk everybody that I work with through the whole process. Okay, bye. Remember, guys, breathe in, move in, breathe out, and be happy.